You know, I was camping this weekend, Monkey, down at the Gulf Coast. The Texas Gulf Coast. And you know who I saw out there wading through the waves and the wind and the rain? It's my old friend, Dave Thomas. Now, as you know, I have met Dave Thomas before, but I wasn't aware that he also enjoyed camping on the Texas coast. You know what he was doing out there in the waves? Well, he was grilling up some tasty burgers. I sloshed my way out there to the chest-deep water, and I said, Dave, what the hell are you doing? And he said, well, can't you see, son? I'm grilling up some delicious Wendy's burgers. And I said, well, Dave, I can see that you're trying to grill up some delicious Wendy's burgers, but your grill is literally underwater. And he said, that's just the secret, young man. I'm trying out a new menu item. It's called the Soggy Mush Burger. I said, Dave, that sounds like one of the worst ideas I've ever heard in my life. And he says, Sonny Boy, Jim Bob, Sonny Jim, Jim, Sonny Jim, Bob, Sonny Jim, Jim Bob. And I said, Dave, that's not my name. And Dave continued, Jim Bob, Sonny Bob, Jim, Sonny Jim, Bob, Sonny Bob, Jim, Sonny Jim, Jim, Bob, Bob. And at that point, I realized that the salt water had rotted poor Dave's brain. And he continued to call me variations of Sonny Jim Bob for the next hour and 45 minutes. And finally he said, just try this tasty, delicious, soggy mush burger. And from deep within the briny deep, he pulled forth a handful of something that looked like old, rotten hamburger meat and soggy kelp, and he shoved it into my face hole. Now, I expected to projectile vomit it out immediately, but lo and behold, it was one of the greatest things I've ever tasted in all my life. I said, Dave, that is goddamn electric. What do you call that? And he said, I already told you it's the Soggy Mush Burger, you piece of shit. And I said, Dave, you don't need to get so aggro. And he was like, sorry, Sonny Jim Bob, Sonny Bob, Jim Bob, Sonny Bob, Jim. And he went on like that for another hour and 45 minutes. In the meantime, I stole all of his soggy mush burgers and patented the recipe. And when he finally stopped attempting to call me Sonny Bob, Jim Bob, he said, wait a minute, where did all my soggy mush burgers go? I said, Dave, I think your daughter took them. And he looked at me and he said, I don't have a daughter, you fucking psycho. And I said, sure you do, Dave. Her name's Wendy. And he stared at me for a long time. And he said, you're out of your fucking mind. And he turned and dove into the water and swam away. That's the last time I saw Dave Thomas down on the Texas Gulf Coast, grilling up some tasty, soggy mush burgers deep underwater.